Does that make sense? Understand this fact. This model, the first four elements of this model are working in your life right now, whether you think they ought to or not. You've got the needs. The principles are etched on your belief window, and they are, in fact, driving your behavior. Where the model tends to break down is an unwillingness to seriously measure the results of that behavior. Now, I want you to write one more statement. Results take time to measure. It's sort of the seeds and fruits idea. Now, let me explain what that means with this experience. At one of the high schools we took this drug assembly to, the high school principal decided, you know, I don't want you to talk to my entire high school. My entire high school doesn't have the problem. There are some of the kids in this high school that do, in fact, have an alcohol-drug problem. Would you spend the hour with them? I said, sure. They identified 50 druggies, and that's what they were called by the faculty, druggies. I sat there in the room as these 50 kids filed into this room. It's kind of a music room, one of these tiered rooms. These kids all walked in, and it was a sight to see. And they all came in, and it was the most hostile atmosphere I've ever seen. When they all got in there, they looked around and recognized each other. And they said, what are we doing here for? The principal got up and said, because you're all alcoholics and druggies, and Mr. Smith is going to fix that. And they said, yeah? And then I was introduced. I stood up in front of these 50 kids, the most hostile group I have ever addressed, ever. And in the first 2 minutes, I had to throw one kid out, literally throw him out. When he got to the door, he swore at me, and when he swore at me, the class cheered. Hostile, guys, it was hostile. And I said, you know, I haven't got anything to lose. I'm going to lay this model on them, see what happens. And so I picked 5 kids. I'd been watching them as they came in, and I thought I picked the 5 that were kind of the ringleaders, and I was right on 2 of them. Boy, was I right on 2 of them. One of the kids that I had come up front as my belief window, very bright kid, heavy into drugs and alcohol. Started walking him through this model, and they were trying to catch me on every one. He said, I don't take drugs because it makes me feel important. It's got nothing to do with my self-esteem. Why do you take drugs? Because I enjoy it. It's fun. I said, okay, well, maybe the need that's driving that then is variety for you. Yeah, it's variety. And then I said, okay, well, tell me, let's see if we can find out what principle's on your belief window. Do you drink? Yeah, I drink. How do you drink? I get bombed every weekend, about 10 beers a week. I said, will that make you an alcoholic? No way, you can't be an alcoholic just like that. I said, okay, you've just given me a belief on your belief window. You believe you can get bombed every week, take 10 beers a week, and that won't turn you into an alcoholic. Is that what you believe? We'd been through this model enough times at this point. This kid realized he'd been had. And he said, yeah. I said, all right, let's set up the model. If that's true then, and you go to a party, and booze is offered, what will you do? What will your behavior be? I'll drink. Yeah, that's what you're doing now, right? Right. All right, well, the results meet your needs. And he said, yeah. And then he's got this funny look on his face like, boy, Smith, I am going to blow you away. And he said, I got it. I understand the model. He says, let me walk you through it. I said, walk me through it. He says, all right, I've got it in my belief window. I won't be an alcoholic or a drug addict. If I play with I take cocaine maybe once or twice a week, and that won't make me an addict, nor will the way I drink. That's on my belief window, right? Right. And the need is variety. It makes me feel good, right? Right. If that's true, I go to a party and I get smashed, right? Yeah. If the results meet my needs, then it's a correct principle on my belief window, right? Right. He said, right? I said, yeah, right. He said, are the results meeting your needs? Yeah, I feel terrific. I said, but you forgot one thing. Results take time to measure. You don't know yet. And then he said, okay, that means I got to do it the rest of my life. Prove it, right? I said, that's a way. You could do it. Certainly is. Not the smartest way, but you could do it that way. I said, there's another way. It's called seeds and fruits. Maybe you could look at somebody who planted that seed themselves, did this all their lives, see if it met their needs. Could we do that? Yeah, I guess you could do that. Give me an example of somebody that drank all their lives and took Coke all their lives where it met their needs over time. First example, Elvis Presley. I said, Elvis Presley? Yeah. Where's he? Dead. How come? OD'd on drugs. Give me another example. Janis Joplin. Where's Janis Joplin? Dead. How come? OD'd on drugs. Give me another one. John Belushi was the third example. Where's John Belushi? It's dead. How come? OD'd on drugs. Are you seeing anything? This is what I said. Are you seeing anything here? The kid was ashen-faced at this point. And I said, over time, are the results of that behavior going to meet your need? And I said to him, I said, I'm not here today to tell you what to put on your belief window. All I'm here to tell you is what's happening right now. And at some point, you're going to discover that the results of that behavior may not be meeting your needs, and it may be too late. In the back of the room was a kid with green hair. Green hair. It stood this high above his head. Straight hair. He sat in the back of the room, and he was just kind of over the back of his chair, and finally he raised his hand and said, "This doesn't make any difference anyway." I said, "What do you mean it doesn't make any difference?" This is a very hostile environment. It was a lot of fun, quite frankly. It was a lot of fun. He said, "We're all going to be dead in 10 years anyway." "What do you mean we're going to be all dead in 10 years?" He said, "We're going to blow ourselves up. There's no way we'll survive more than 10 years. I said, "You just gave me a belief on your belief window." "I did?" "Yeah, you did. You believe that we're going to be blown up in 10 years. And then I said, "How many of you in this room believe that?" 42 hands went up out of the 50. I said, "You all believe this world, we're going to blow ourselves up?" "Oh, yeah, this is dumb." I said, "All right, let's take it through the model. You believe we'll be blown up in 10 years. If that's true then, and it's now time to go to school and do well in school, what will your behavior be in school?" In one voice, "We'll blow school. School doesn't matter." "That's right. You're right. You'll do that, and that's what you're doing, right?" "Yeah." "Well, is the result going to meet your needs? Suppose you're alive in 15 years. Just suppose we don't blow ourselves up in 10 years. We're alive in 15. Will the results of your behavior now meet your needs out there? How are you going to eat?" And it was stone quiet. And the kid with the green hair says, "Doesn't mean you don't try." And I said, "Baloney, are you trying?" "No. That's your behavior. You're not trying. We just discovered the belief on your window that's causing that behavior. And maybe for the first time you're getting a glimpse of maybe that's not going to meet your needs. Is your family going to feed you all for the rest of your life? They're going to pay for that green dye?" It was very confrontive. And it was just amazing. It got stone quiet in there. Let me give you another couple of examples. Suppose you got it on your belief window somewhere that your self-esteem is linked to not losing at games. Somehow you got it on your belief window that you must not lose at games. What need do you suppose is driving something like that? Feel important, maybe? If that's true then, and you're playing a game with somebody and you start to lose, what'll you do? Cheat. No way I'm going to lose. Okay? Have you ever played basketball with somebody that just went crazy when they start losing? Now again, when you observe behavior, you can come back and pretty well discover what is on that belief window. Let me give you some historical examples. In 1954, Eisenhower, President of the United States, had two principles on his belief window. One of them was, you fight communism wherever it surfaces, period. The second belief on his belief window was, you must never get in a land war in China. So now here he is with those two principles on his belief window. If that's true then, and the French approach him in 1954 and say, "Hey, we're in an ugly war in Vietnam, we need help," what's Eisenhower's behavior going to be? Driven by his principles. Fight communism anywhere, so what does he have to do? He's got to help. But don't get in a land war in China. So what did Eisenhower do? Gave them everything but what? Men. Gave them munitions, money, supplies, ammunition, guns, no men. So he His behavior was in line with his principles. 1960, John Kennedy's President of the United States. His Secretary of Defense is a man by the name of Robert McNamara. Robert McNamara had a belief on his belief window: computers never lie. Somewhere he picked up the belief that computers never lie. If that's true then, and McNamara sets up his rules for behavior, and the computer spits out and says, given enough men, munitions, supplies, you can win a war anywhere on the planet, what's he going to recommend to Kennedy? So what'd Kennedy do? Advisors show up in Vietnam. Now, did the results of that meet our needs? I just throw that out to you as a question. 1935, Adolf Hitler had a need to feel important that is unexcelled in this century. Did we know what his principles were? Yeah, he wrote a book. We knew. He had on his belief window that everything was racial. The races were graded. What was the highest race? The Aryan. What was the lowest races? Jews and blacks. They're the worst. Now, if that's true then, and he starts setting up his rules for behavior, and he's got an economic disaster in Germany, it's got to be somebody's fault. Can't be Aryans. Aryans are best. So whose fault is it? Jews. So he started attacking the Jews. But he had a problem in 1935. The Americans and the British are Aryans. They're like me. They're good guys. That means I must be able to make peace with them. They won't fight me because we're all Aryans. Only all of a sudden, 1939, he's in a war with Britain. He wasn't able to make peace, and the Americans are supporting the British. He couldn't figure that out. So what's the only thing Hitler could do and be consistent with his belief that everything is racial? He decided that Winston Churchill and Roosevelt were Jews. It's true, folks. He believed that. It's the only way he could reconcile this. They have to be Jews. The minute he decided that, it's okay to fight them now. They're the lowest race. I can wipe out the Britons now. Well, did his behavior meet his needs? How long did the 1,000-year Reich last? 13 years. He had a bad principle on his belief window. Suppose you have a principle on your belief window that says, my self-worth is linked to never losing an argument. It's not macho to lose an argument. If that's true then, and my teenage son comes in and starts arguing with me, what will my behavior be? Death. Death. I'll win. I'll win. Over time, will that meet my needs? Will that help my relationship with my son? Maybe not. Now, there are cultural belief windows. There are corporate belief windows. There are family belief windows. Do you believe that? We grow up in a home, and where do we get all these principles on our belief window? We get them from the environment in which we grow up. Suppose I have on my... In fact, I'll tell you about a corporate belief we had on our corporate belief window. At the Franklin Institute, we had a belief on our belief window that you cut costs no matter what. A good business management principle is you always cut costs. Now, what need do you suppose is driving that for a corporation? Survival. All right, if that's true then, and it's now time to hire a receptionist for the Franklin Institute, what will our behavior be? What kind of a receptionist will we buy? Cheap. The least expensive we can get. So we did. How does the result meet the need? 3 weeks later, the senior vice president from Rockwell International, they built a space shuttle in Anaheim, California. You got a really interesting receptionist, Hyrum. Really? Yeah. She doesn't speak English. She doesn't? No, I called up a little while ago and asked if she had some things, and she said, we ain't got none of them. Now, who is our window to the corporate world? Our receptionist. We changed the principle on our belief window. And the principle was, we want to have the finest reputation in America, period. If that's true, and it's now time to buy a receptionist, what will our behavior be as a corporation? What kind of receptionist will we buy?